Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right. Welcome into a Thursday edition of the JP Peterson Show. It is the start of the Masters. I didn't have my Masters hat today, so unfortunately could not wear that. It's still en route. It's still en route from the great Frank Ganley. I couldn't pick it up yesterday, so all my Master stuff is still en route. So, but that's okay. That's delayed, just as the tournament is delayed this morning by a little bit of weather, which will affect Tiger, unfortunately. So, Bob Herrick is going to join us from the Masters live from the Masters.
I'm so blowed. You just reminded me of something. You forgot to wear your Masters gear. I have a shirt. It's not a Masters branded shirt, but it's green, and on the back it has like the flag stick that's at the Masters and everything. And it didn't fit for a while. I was so happy 2 weeks ago. I found it in my childhood closet. I was like, it fits now because I lost weight, and I was like, I'm gonna wear it on Thursday. And I forgot to put it on.
Wow. See, I got tomorrow. You won't be on the show tomorrow.
For the first time ever, I think, on this show. My other alma mater, FGCU here, by the way.
You're out. You went to FGCU?
For 2 years. Yes, I did before I went to UCF.
How did I know? I did not know that. I did not know that.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, we will get right to Bob Herrick here. And we also got plenty of Rays stuff to get to on the field, off the field with the stadium stuff. There's news there. Bucks draft. Are they looking at Keon Coleman? Very much could be. We have some news on that. Jason Light will do a press conference today. We will also get into tonight's Lightning game as well. Ottawa's in the house. Maybe more important now is the race to the Art Ross Trophy with Kucherov. So we'll get into all that and so much more today on the JP Peterson Show. So without further ado, let's bring in the great Bob Herrick from Augusta, where he is getting ready to head out to Augusta National, where there'll be a little bit of rain today, already a little bit, but they missed the bad stuff. Bob, good morning to you. How are you?
Yeah, it looks like we dodged one because it was supposed to be really bad, and it's going to be windy, and which will make it interesting. But the good news is that maybe by Saturday the place will be back dried out again, because it was great yesterday. It's a shame, really. But really, a 2.5 hour delay, all things considered, as bad as they were talking about it, not too bad.
Yeah, and we heard all week, or the first couple of days of practice, that it was hard and fast. And I'm trying to think back, Bob. It's been a while since it's been super hard and fast, right? When guys just, where it's just so hard out there, balls don't hold on the green. We haven't seen a lot of that in recent years, and we might have been heading to that. Could we see that this weekend, you think?
It's possible. I mean, they've got that sub-air system here, and that sucks the moisture out. And I don't know what the rainfall total was, but I don't think it was anywhere near what they thought.
No.
So it's going to be a little soft today. Today's, if they're out there with no wind, the guys teeing off early today might need to get after it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I think it's going to get tougher as we go.
Yeah.
It'll get firmer. It'll firm up. And you're right. We have not had a firm fast Masters for a while. And, that brings out the best.
It does.
When it's soft, you can hold the greens. You don't run through the fairway as much.
Yep.
The guys who are controlling their ball are the ones who benefit when it's firm and fast. And that's kind of what you like the majors to be.
Yeah. And I would say if it gets firm and fast on the weekend, the guy who controls his ball better than anybody is Scotty Scheffler, right? I mean,
right.
He is without a doubt the odds-on favorite, clearly. And I would say hard and fast would probably help him on the weekend.
No question, because then it doesn't become a putting contest. I mean, if there's a weakness for him, it's putting. And, if you're firing it, if everybody's firing at the flags, then his advantage is taken away. His advantage is he's going to hit those crisp iron shots that are going to hold on a firm green. Not everybody does. So he wants it firm and fast, and then the putting is obviously treacherous for everybody when it's really firm. And so, he knows that the other guys face some obstacles as well. But, if the guy just gets his putting dialed in decent,
average,
he wins way more than anybody. It's incredible to think of how many tournaments he's been in the mix and he didn't win because you looked up and you saw him missing a 5-footer. It's got to be incredibly aggravating. So he found something here lately, and we'll see if it carries over.
He's got a new putter. Is that correct? New mallet putter?
He went to a mallet. And the other weird thing that he did was not weird, but I just thought it was odd that he would let something like this get in his head. He took the line off the ball that he used to line up the putter. How some guys have a line,
right?
Yeah. And he took that off the ball because he said it was when I would see the ball roll and it wasn't rolling perfectly, it bothered me.
Right.
So he said, the putter lines up the ball just fine. I don't need the line on there. Now I don't think about that anymore, and it frees me up. And I'm like, oh my God, you can play better than 9 million people in the world, and yet you're worried about the line on your ball. I mean, it just kind of shows you what gets to these guys sometimes. And so that was a big that helped. That changed.
That's so interesting because they're all in pursuit of perfection, right? And for Scotty Scheffler, that's the only thing that is keeping him from winning every single tournament. So I guess whatever it is that makes your head clearer, go for it, right? Go for it. Well, the rain will affect Tiger because he doesn't go off, I think, till 3:45 today. And that means he's got to come back and play more holes tomorrow, right? So with his fragile physique, that I'm guessing presents problems because you've detailed that it takes him 4 or 5 hours just to get ready for a round, and when we have these different delays, that really messes him up.
Yeah, it doesn't help. I mean, the extra number of holes he's looking at tomorrow too. I mean, could he get through 12 holes today? Possibly.
Yeah.
And so then you got 6 holes, but it's not even the number of holes, it's the day.
Yeah.
So they'll start him back out at 7:38 tomorrow morning. And then he'll go right into his second round.
Right.
And it takes him a while to get activated every day. Yeah. He has a trainer, and we don't know all that he does, but there's some manipulation going on. He's having to get stretched out. He's having to, get his back worked on. I don't know what they do to the leg. After the round, he has to, sometimes he gets in an ice bath. And then so today that means he's going to finish at 8:00. They'll take it up to darkness, and like you said, I think it's 3:54. These rounds take 5 hours, so it gets dark a little bit before 8. So he's going to have an hour's worth. He'll have at least, I would think, 6 holes to go, and maybe at that time of day it'll be good for him to get through 10, 11, and 12. Maybe that's the silver lining to that. But Tiger's not been blessed with the good weather breaks here these last 3 years. Heat is his friend. It's been cold the last 2 years. It's not been cold. It's not cold this year, but he didn't need this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But if we're being honest, he wasn't going to be a factor anyway, but this just really makes it really, really tough on him. A lot of people have talked about Xander Schauffele as a guy who could, has all the, I forget exactly who it was talking about the metrics it takes to win. There's 20 metrics it takes to win, and he has 19 of them. And Xander Schauffele is that guy. Tell me why people think that he is a favorite there this week and why I bet on him.
Well, he's just been very consistent. I mean, he hasn't won in more than a year, and he's still 5th in the world. Yeah. That tells you he's up there all the time. He had a close call at the Players. He's been caught in a little bit of a swing change thing he's going through with Chris Como, who used to work with Tiger a while back. And, you got to trust it. And under the gun, he didn't trust it. So that's the one thing that you worry about with him. But at the Valspar, he had a really good final round and came back and, top 5 there. And he's just he's had a lot of good finishes in majors. He's one of those guys that we keep thinking is going to win one, just like Cantlay.
Yeah.
And, one of these days, you think maybe he'll break through.
Bob Herrick joining us from the Masters. Any other favorites that you're thinking this week? Maybe some dark horses out there that might be able to win in these conditions, these very windy conditions that'll be all week?
I wouldn't call Hideki a dark horse, but I don't think too many people are talking about him.
No.
He won Riviera shooting 62 the final day. And, he's been a little under the radar because he was hurt last year. He had some neck issues. He withdrew from a few tournaments. And so his world ranking slipped. He was out of the top 50. And then he won at Riviera. He shot a final round 62. He won by 3 or 4 shots. It was a great final round. He's a world-class player. He was 7th last week in Houston, 6th at the Players. He's had some good finishes. The Players is a ball striking course. This is one too. So, I'd be kind of surprised if he's not up there. The thing we haven't had this year is the star players, except for like Scheffler, stepping up. Where's Jordan been? Where's Rory been? Where's Cantlay been? Where's Max Homa? These guys have not been in the mix.
Yeah.
And, are they going to do it this week? It's kind of time, like, let's get going here, guys. You've not really performed all that well. Justin Thomas, look at him. He hasn't done anything.
Nothing.
Wyndham Clark. Yeah. Wyndham Clark he's played well, but it's crazy to think this is his first Masters.
I know.
It's it's a great stat. The last time a guy came to the Masters for the first time after having won the U.S. Open was Orville Moody way back like in 1970. So he won the 69 U.S. Open. Like, it's pretty rare that a guy would win a major and hasn't played in the Masters. So, Wyndham Clark, he's playing great, but historically guys don't do well in their first Masters. So there's another guy like do you count him out?
And what about when I think about high winds, I think about guys that can hit it low, maybe more of the European players. Does that figure into it at all this week?
Yeah, possibly. There's not as many of them as there usually are. Tommy Fleetwood's another one who strikes it solid.
Yeah.
And being able to withstand some high winds is that he's that type of player. Frankly, it's not been a great recipe for Rory. Yeah. Good for him as his tee time is earlier today. So, right now it's pretty calm. But it's supposed to pick up afternoon, and nobody's teed off yet. They don't start until 10:30. So, we got an interesting day ahead. And, there's not a lot of big names early. Right. That's like when some of the older guys tee off, and there's a couple up there, but not a lot. But that's this looks like the time to take advantage. If you can get out there early and get under par, maybe these other guys later in the day are going to struggle.
Bob Herrick joining us from Augusta. Talk a little bit about, I know our good friend Fred Ridley did the kind of State of the Masters address yesterday. Any topics really kind of, there was some really good stuff in there. What was some of your favorite topics?
Well, listen, I asked them directly, have you talked to the LIV people? And they've been saying that without OWGR points, they feel that the majors just need to give them direct spots off their order of merit. So like a lot of the LIV players and some of their leadership have said, hey, look, if we're not going to get OWGR, well, then the majors need to carve out 3, 5, 10 spots for us. 10 is a ridiculous thing that they would get 10. And, historically, the majors don't really do that for other tours. It's the PGA Tour, some DP World Tour. The other worldwide tours maybe get a spot here or there. They have other qualifying areas. The Masters has special exemptions. The Masters doesn't even give direct spots to Europe. It's PGA Tour centric. So the idea that they were going to give them to LIV, it's kind of far-fetched. I don't understand that thinking. So anyway, I asked him about it, and he said, look, we don't see a formula to do it that way because their system is a closed shop. Yeah. And while they have really good players, and then he lauded Joaquin Niemann, of course, for winning the Australian Open, for playing outside of LIV, for his world ranking wasn't high enough, but they gave him a special invite. They clearly don't look at the LIV events as worthy of being like Taylor Gooch, who won 3 times last year. And look, he's a great player, but I think if I'm LIV right now, I look at this situation, and if you think it's going to go on this way for a while, which it very well might, why not get with the OWGR and figure something out? Yeah. Get to
72 holes, like John Rahm has said, right? And
I don't even think, I don't even think that's a prerequisite. Like, that's not the issue. Like, they can work around that. A small field isn't the issue. The issue is a closed shop. They have the same 54 guys every week.
Gotcha.
There's no turnover.
Yeah.
And they don't have enough turnover at the end of the year. And so, like, from week to week on the PGA Tour, guys shuffle in and out of tournaments.
Right.
You could have from one week to the next, you could have 50 different guys there. And so that's viewed as more opportunities. You're having to beat different players. And so to me, it's not that hard of a fix for them. First of all, they have all the money in the world to do whatever they want. They could have weekly qualifying.
Yeah,
they could go to 60. Yeah. They could go to 60 players. They could have a rogue team that qualifies every week. I've said, if they're smart, call them the Renegades and brand it and sell merchandise. And every week you have a different team of 4 guys.
Yeah.
But that way you get 4 new players every week.
Yeah.
And that qualifier would be huge, because a guy who gets in, who's a nobody, can maybe win $4 million.
Right. That's a great point. Yeah.
Or have guys come off the Asian tour, which they have a relationship with.
Yeah.
There's ways they can do it. I don't understand why they're so stubborn about it. And they're going to kill their guys.
Yeah.
Like, after next year, Bryson won't be eligible for any of the majors but the U.S. Open, because he's so far out of the world rankings. Bryson's a world-class player.
Right.
But he's earning no points on LIV. So anyway, that was an interesting answer. That should have been kind of a wake-up call for LIV, what Fred said yesterday.
Yeah, but like you said, they're pretty stubborn. Bob, I know you got to go, so let's talk a little bit about the latest book you have, Drive, The Lasting Legacy of Tiger Woods. The first one, Tiger versus Phil, was awesome. Talk a little bit about this one, how folks can get it.
Yeah, listen, it's got a great cover on it with Tiger on the cover hitting a shot. I think it kind of goes a little bit downhill from there, but I appreciate it. You can get it on Amazon is the easiest place. You'll have it probably this afternoon or tomorrow, but it's in Barnes & Noble. My mom goes to the bookstore and rearranges it so it's right out in front. And, it's like kind of embarrassing, but I appreciate
that's
the
what
effort.
Mom should be doing. That's what mom should be doing. No
so, so it's out there. It's, I'm getting a lot of reaction. Obviously, Tiger, what he's done to come back all these times, and even now, and, throughout his whole career, there have been these moments of, incredible will and resiliency. And that's kind of what the book is about.
Yeah. I think it was a Golf Channel did a nice retrospective on the 2019 win, where everybody was. Zach Johnson talking about, they were watching it on his caddy's phone while they were playing. It's
Zach, they had a 2T start that day, and Zach was on the other 9. So he basically admitted they were breaking the rules. They had a phone out at Augusta. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. That's one of those things people are going to say they remember where they were when they won.
Great stuff. Bob, thank you very much for taking the time. I know you got to run. So head on out there, bring your raincoat, and we'll check in with you next week. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks, JP. Be well. Take care.
All right. The great Bob Herrick there, Sports Illustrated. You can follow him on Twitter at Bob Herrick. That was a really, really cool thing. If you haven't seen that, I think it was on the Golf Channel. They were doing their pre-Masters and talking to all the guys about, where they were when Tiger won it. That was, to me, probably next to Jack winning at Augusta in 86 at the age of 46, I think I've got those numbers right. That was probably the top moment at the Masters, to see Tiger come back and do that. And with his son, and the hug that was so similar to the first time he won, and his dad hugged him. I mean, all of it. I mean, Niagara Falls. You're just in
a perfect world, that would have been the moment where that was the last time you saw Tiger. Yeah. And then 2 years later, when Phil won in the U.S. Open at Kiowa, right?
Yeah.
That would have been the last time you saw, or the PGA at Kiowa. That would have been the last time you saw Phil, and they both could have gone out together like that. I'll still remember those moments. I don't care what happens after, really, necessarily. But I know for some people are going to yay, oh, they're tarnishing this, they're tarnishing that.
Nah.
Those 2 moments in particular are the 2 best moments I saw in my time of watching golf.
Yeah. Those were special. And, to me, anything that's authored on the grounds of Augusta just has a little bit more impact. And that's the shame, is like we're watching it this week, and I'm like, what's great to see is all the guys are together. But to me, it underscores even more how ridiculous this has gotten. It has gotten. I'm wearing the Aramco logo right here, which is the PIF fund, and has their money soiled this? Absolutely. But allowing Greg Norman to run wild is the biggest problem of all of it. He has always had a problem with the PGA Tour. And like Bob said, they're super stubborn because they're relying on Greg Norman to make all these decisions. I just, he's out for blood. And the PGA Tour obviously sees this as an existential threat, and they have to protect theirs. And they're having a hard time. So in the end, the money is the vehicle. There's no doubt about it. It's the driving force that has screwed up golf. But more than that, it's the leadership that has made it so much worse. The money should be a positive for the players. The money should be used to make things better for everyone, not just the golfers, but for their charities and everything else. And instead, we found a way, because the two sides are so greedy and agenda driven, to screw up golf. And that's, because seriously, that's honestly what's going on here. The money that's coming into it. And I think we're all past, what's dirty money, what's not dirty money. Every country, at this point is dirty money, including our own. Are there things that Saudi Arabia does that are barbaric? Yes, absolutely. You could make the case just about any country in the world doing that these days. So it is what it is. But it's more about the leadership than anything else. And that's where we've fallen down. Jay Monahan has completely screwed this up, completely screwed it up. I don't know. I'm not sitting in his chair, so I don't know, if I would have been able to do any better in the situation. The number one villain in my book is Greg Norman, without question. I don't think it's close. He's 1 through 5. So the fact that you have so much money pouring into golf should have been a good thing. Should have been a good thing. But instead we have, mass chaos, and it's not good for golf. And seeing it all come together this week is great. And you don't want to focus on that part of it because it's the Masters. But we'll say that, we'll get it out of the way, and now we'll move on to watching this great tournament unfold.
Yeah, I was going to say, once the tournament gets underway, which I think we have the first tee times coming up here in 10 minutes? Is it 10:30 still, or did they delay it even longer?
I have the Rays replay on my screen, so I'll quickly snap. Man,
what are you doing?
I had to rewatch a little bit of the ridiculous first inning, which we'll talk about here in a second.
Right, but I was gonna say though, what hasn't helped though for this year with the PGA Tour, and it's golf and this is sport, so it's like it's not in my world of wrestling, for example, where you can script it. But as Bob kind of said, outside of Scotty Scheffler winning 2 events so far this year,
yeah.
And then Hideki won 1, and then Wyndham Clark won 1. If you look at the winners this year, like I'm by no means like a golf diehard, but I don't think I'm a casual either. I'm probably somewhere in the middle of that. And no offense to these guys, but you'd be hard pressed to know who Chris Kirk is, Grayson Murray, Nick Dunlap, Matthew Pavon, Jake Knapp, Austin Eckroat, Bryce Garnett.
These are all winners on the PGA Tour that you're talking about. These aren't
correct.
Guys that got in being at the top 50 world ranking points. So, and the reason you're getting a lot of these guys winning is because the fields are so thin.
Yeah, but it just hasn't helped the PGA Tour. Whatever is
right.
Like the stars they do have. It's like, does anybody want to wake up and
do
help
something?
Us out here? Let's play golf or play.
Justin Thomas, what are you doing? Jordan Spieth, what are you doing?
Those two guys to me in particular, I don't want to say have had disappointing careers, but I thought there'd be more consistency to them. Yeah. And Justin in particular, he's not even, one of the more underrated storylines is he replaced Bones McKay going into the Masters, which was a pretty interesting move, right? So he's trying to find something.
Bones who won 3 with Phil.
Right. And Rory is still looking for that first, major in the last 10 years,
which is incredible. Just absolutely incredible. Yeah. And looking for his first Masters to complete the Grand Slam.
Right. And then on the flip side of it, you look at Liv, and like John Rahm, it's like is probably the best player not named Scotty Scheffler in the world right now.
Right.
1A, 1B, whatever. And I was watching some of his press conference earlier this week. It's like he looks so uncomfortable about all of it at this point. Like it looks on his face and the way he speaks like I made a mistake.
Yeah, of course.
Like I missed this.
Yeah. These guys show up. I'm watching the par 3 yesterday. I'm like, oh, there's Brooke Koepka. He's fat now. I haven't seen him in so long. He's fat.
Dustin Johnson's beard gets like artificially blacker every time I see him.
I'm like, who are these guys? And I'll be interested to see how they play, to be honest with you. I mean, Brooks Koepka seems, completely energized in every major he plays. So I don't think it's just, he shows up at a major, he plays well. John Rahm will be interesting because I think you're correct. I think he doesn't look comfortable in his own skin at all. And I think he made a huge mistake.
Because I think he thought that him going was going to change something. I think he kind of had mentioned that, like he thought it was going to change something, and it probably hasn't at this moment.
No,
I'm more interested to see Joaquin Niemann. He's to me the biggest case study because he's been playing so good over there on the Live Tour, from what we understand, and he won the Australian thing and all that. And he's a trendy pick this week. Yeah. So Joaquin Niemann, let's see what you have this week. I think he's the biggest one under pressure.
And he has a local tie because when he came over from Chile, he hunkered down at Saddlebrook in Tampa, and that's where he really, really honed his skills and became a great golfer. So it's going to be fascinating to watch once again this week. And with the Scotty Scheffler, such an overwhelming favorite, and I found it a little bit curious. He did his press conference this week, and if you're doing deep dives in the Golf Channel and other places like I am, you'll hear these things, but on the, in the mainstream, you will never hear anything about Scotty Scheffler's faith, which he talks about all the time. And people will say, well, because God wants him to win the tournament. No, it's not how it works, folks. It gives players like him and people with deep faith an inner peace, a focus, and maybe there's a lot of things in his life that aren't happening in other people's lives that make him able to focus a little bit more. So I think it's refreshing to see a guy like Scotty Scheffler whose main focus is not golf, even being the best player in the world. He has a higher calling. He sees it as a platform. I applaud him for that. I applaud him for being so public about his faith. But I always find it interesting how ESPN can edit out every single part of it, even though it's 80% maybe of his press conference. But that's for another day. And I'm personally, it helps me in a rooting effort for Scotty Scheffler, even though I didn't bet him. I didn't bet. I bet on about 6 different guys to win.
3.
So I bet $10, $25. And I think Victor Hovland. You ever have these things where you're trying to find somebody to bet on, and like one dude just keeps popping up like everywhere you go. I turn on Golf Channel and they're doing a feature on Victor Hovland. I go over to ESPN, Victor Hovland's doing a sit-down interview. I get on with, Johnny Gerber. I look at his picks. He's got Victor Hovland on there. I'm like, somebody's telling me to bet on Victor Hovland.
Okay. So I made 3 bets. I made one. I did 3 levels of this. I picked one favorite. I picked one kind of middle round guy. And then I picked one long shot. And I put the same amount of money on all 3 because I'm not a bettor, but this is like the one event that I will come out of the woodshed for. Hideki Matsuyama, Bob Herrick mentioned him. I love where his game is at right now. He hasn't missed a cut all year. He's coming off finishes of 1st, 12th, 6th, and 7th in his last 4 events. By the way, his worst finish at the Masters dating back to 2015 is 32nd. Okay. He won the Masters 3 years ago. So I like Hideki as one of my favorites. And Shane Lowry. I'm all in on Shane Lowry this week because last 4 finishes at the Masters, 25th, 21st, 3rd, and 16th. He seems to be figuring out this course. He's another guy who's been playing really well this year so far. So Shane Lowry's like my mid-level pick. Mm-hmm. And then I just threw a long dart at Taylor Moore. And I don't really have any information to bring for you on Taylor Moore. I'm just picking a random guy in the long shot, and it pays out pretty well. So there you go. Those are my 3 guys there.
Yeah, on my Hard Rock bets, I got my Hard Rock bets right there. Can you even see that? There, you got to angle it because of the glare. There we go. So at the top, I got Peter Malnati, who won at Valspar. Of course, somewhat similar to Augusta, about as close as you'll find on the PGA Tour. For a top 20, $10 will get me 75. And then Adrian Meronk is one of the long shot picks from our PGA Pro, Johnny Gerber. He gave me. Got him as a top 10 for $10. That'll pay me 120. Russell Henley is another one of Gerber's picks. I got him
He's
$10
been trendy this week.
Yeah, he's been for a top 10. $10 gets me 50. Xander Schauffele, put 25 on him to win it. That'll get me 350. Brooks Koepka, $15 gets you 255. I think that's a nice bet. That's a nice bet. I don't have they started yet? I don't know if you can still get down on that, but maybe you can. Tony Finau. I don't get a little thing about Tony Finau. He came close a couple of years ago in 2019. He's played pretty well there.
Yeah.
So $10 will get you 310 on that. And then my Victor Hovland bet. I love this bet. 25 gets you 775.
Oof.
And as ball strikers go, and it's going to be windy out there. I think you unanimously get Scotty Scheffler, but Victor Hovland would not be far behind in terms of top 5 ball strikers on tour. So we'll see. It's going to be fun to watch as the weekend unfolds. So get your popcorn ready.
It looks like we're teeing off. We're literally I have it pulled up on my laptop now. But it looks like Van Rooyen and Knapp
you're
are
toast for the rest of the show. So Watson, Palmer, and Jack have already gone off with the ceremonial.
I'm assuming because it says Van Rooyen and Knapp are scheduled to go off at 10:30 a.m. and I got 10:31 right now on my laptop.
Yeah.
So should be any moment now.
Oh, there's another thing I put on my Instagram. If you'd like to subscribe, follow me on Instagram. On my story, or bet you can go to the Masters and follow them on the Instagram. They did a little thing on the Champions Dinner last night with John Rahm reading an old note, I think, from Cliff from was it Gene Sarazen? Maybe Bobby Jones. Anyway, it was an old note that he read that established the Champions Dinner. And they take you behind the scenes at how everything's being fixed in the kitchen and everything's set up and guys walking in. Super cool. Super, super cool. I love that behind the scenes stuff, especially when it comes to things like that. It's really, really interesting. So go check that out if you like stuff like that, like I do. All right, let's hit our first break. When we come back, we'll get into the Rays game yesterday. That was a bizarre baseball game. So we'll hit that. A winning series, certainly in a winning road trip for the Rays against a couple of bad teams. And some interesting things happening along the stadium. There's a lot of meetings going on. So we'll get you up to date on all those things as well and much more. Brian Bradley's going to join us as well, live from Amalie Arena for the morning skate. So we'll do all that when we come back in our second half hour. Stay with us. JP here for my friends at your local Synovus Bank. And I do mean friends, and I do mean local. One of the local managers in Tampa is John Acosta, big fan of the show, and I've known him for over 40 years. He's been in local banking since 1983. You talk about developing relationships. You don't stick around for that long unless you're doing things the right way and have a great reputation. And that's the focus company-wide at Synovus. Big enough to handle any complex international transaction, but small enough to answer the phone when you have an urgent question about your business or personal account. And for personal accounts, they have a very easy app that works great. You can do everything online. And for large or small businesses, you will get that personal touch and services to help build your business, taking your dreams and aspirations from the whiteboard to reality. We can make that happen. Let us show you how. For a get-acquainted meeting to open a business or personal account, just call John or go to synovus.com to find out where your local branch is. Everyone knows Italiano Insurance is your go-to for home insurance, but they also have an amazing team that focuses on business insurance. Yes, your business is most likely your biggest asset, so make sure you have the right coverage at the most competitive price. And if you started a side hustle recently, don't forget you need business insurance, because if you get sued in this over-litigious society we live in, you could lose all your personal wealth. So get that business insurance. And for the best customer service, always choose Italiano. My representative, Charity, is amazing. I called her late on a Friday because my insurance was going to lapse. She stayed late until the job was done. You just don't find that anymore. Give them a call, 813-877-7799. That's 813-877-7799. Italiano Insurance. JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA two-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom. You want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or try to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808.
With over 34 years of producing small and large events, Extravaganza Productions is truly a Tampa treasure when it comes to creating some of the very best events in Tampa and all across the United States. I've worked with them at the Florida Sports Hall of Fame inductions, the Warrior Games, which was an Olympic-sized event spread across all of Tampa Bay. They are the very best, from small meetings to exceptionally large corporate conferences to galas, fundraisers, sporting events, grand openings, whatever you want. Team EPI has an extremely talented staff of designers and show producers that develop extraordinary events fueled by the visions of their clients. You can reach them at their Tampa headquarters at 813-621-4700 or go to extravaganzaproductions.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back as we talk some lightning here. We're brought to you by the great folks at Hydrate Heroes, the beverage with benefits, 8 essential vitamins and minerals to make you better and more hydrated without all the caffeine and the sugar. That's Hydrate Heroes and the G's Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. All right, let's head out to Amalie Arena where our main man, Lightning's first all-star, Brian Bradley. Look at him. It makes me stutter when I see you on TV, bro. Look at you. Looking good. How are you?
Good, JP. What's going on, man? How's it going?
You got your earbuds in today?
Got my earbuds. I can hear you loud and clear. Everything's perfect.
Man, we were dialing this in, bro. We are dialing it in just in time for the playoffs. We're just like, look at it. Look at you framing up the Jumbotron. You are so good. Look at you.
I know. I can do. Not only can I do this, but I can do camera work.
I know. Your skills are advancing at a very rapid rate, my friend. We're dialing it in for the playoffs, just like Kucherov. I was just looking at the numbers. McKinnon got 50 goals the other night with a hat trick. He is at, 137 right now. Kucherov is at 139. Connor McDavid, by the way, missed the game last night. So with a lower body injury. So it may be just between Kuch and McKinnon, who's at 137, Kucherov at 139, and we're expecting another 3 points from Kuch tonight, right?
Yeah, you know what? He had 3 points the last couple of games. He looked really good. All the guys are skating out here right now, JP. You know what? Vazzy's in net tonight. Actually, no, Vazzy's not playing tonight. We're going with the other goalie. Yeah, Vazzy's in the other net, so Vazzy is not playing tonight.
Oh,
so
wow.
It looks like Tompkins going right now. I'm looking at it right now, and the goalie who's in the net down here for 2 periods is Tompkins. So that means Vazzy's in the other net, which he is. He's usually never in that net. So for all you Lightning fans out there right now,
breaking news.
Breaking news. Vazzy is not in tonight. They're going with Tompkins. I still think Johansson's still hurt, so it looks like him in net. But we got the whole team on the ice skating right now. Kucherov, Point, Stammer. You know what? Talking about the point race right now, it's crazy. The numbers, Kuch at 139, gets 3 points, and then what does McKinnon do? Comes out and gets a 4-point night with 3 goals and assists, and then, it's going to come down to the wire right now. Look at Stamkos, 10 goals in his last 6 games. He's going to get another 40-goal season. Probably tonight, I would say Stamkos does it. But the team looks good. We played Columbus last game. It's tough to get up. When you play an 82-game schedule, it's hard to get up for games against Columbus, Ottawa. They're not in the playoffs. There's nothing to play for those teams. The guys are trying to get contracts for next year and stuff like that. But you know what? the boys I thought played okay in the first, maybe a little better in the second. In the third period, they lit it up.
Yeah,
They played like the Lightning can, and Vazzy shut the door. We scored some big goals. Stamkos had a hat trick. Great plays by Point. Great plays by Kucherov off the boards. But it'll be interesting to see tonight. The Big Cat's not in tonight, and you know what? They're probably going to play Vazzy Saturday against Washington, which those are big games. Detroit's at Pittsburgh tonight. We play Washington Saturday, so these games are huge right now for some of these teams that are fighting for the playoffs. I mean, you look at Philadelphia. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. What is it, 5% chance of making it? They haven't won a game in their last 8 or 9 games, which isn't good.
Hey, Brian, with Tompkins in tonight, this is rare. Let's just recognize that this is rare because it's not a back-to-back. Vassy's not playing. And that tells me that maybe John Cooper and the organization have taken a little bit more control on how much he plays, and because he wants to play every night, right? He wants to play every night. But maybe this is, finally Vassy's saying, okay, maybe I need a little bit more rest. And I think that's a good thing. Get him rested and ready for the playoffs, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, coming off of back surgeries down there. I mean, I'm going to our goal where we shoot twice. You can see Tompkins is in net right now.
Yeah.
It's not Vazzy, and that's where the Lightning bench is right there. And then that's the goalie where Vazzy's usually in for 2 or 3 periods, and it's Tompkins in net. So I know right away when I come out here and look at the goaltending that Vazzy's not playing tonight. So, but I agree. You know what? Vazzy needs some rest. It'll be interesting to see what happens down the stretch drive. Obviously, we play tonight against Ottawa. Then we play in Washington and Monday, Buffalo, Toronto. But, do you rest guys at some point? Or
yes.
I think the guys, what about Kucherov winning the scoring championship?
No, he ain't resting.
No,
he ain't resting.
I don't think the guys are going to want to rest. I think the guys are going to be like, you know what? We want Kucherov to win the scoring championship, and we want to play for him. So I don't know if we're going to have – I guarantee when we play Toronto on Wednesday night, Toronto's going to have 4 or 5 guys out of the lineup because it doesn't mean anything for them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think Buffalo will be just a spirited game. I think the game on Saturday against Washington is going to be a good one. It's a playoff game. I mean, let's be honest with you. Washington has to win. They're going to be coming out. We got to be ready to go. So, but it's a good experience. And where I look at it for like that, not guys like Point, Kucherov, Stamkos, Hedman, and guys that are on the ice right now, but I look at it for all our young guys that are on the team. Some of the new guys that are young players, the Radishes, the Perbix, the young defenseman,
Lilleberg.
from Norway, little more. Lilleberg, yeah. But guys like that this is what it's going to be like in the playoffs, boys. So when they go and play in Washington, some of the young kids, JP, they go into Washington, they play Saturday night. The crowd's going to be electric. The guys in Washington are going to be fired up. They're going to come out. It's going to be a packed house on a Saturday night. And you know what? For the young guys who's never been in a playoff game, the veteran guys are going to be guys. This is what it's going to be like right when we start in a week and a half. So this is what it's going to be like. Prepare now. This is a playoff game for some of you guys. So I think it's going to be a really good experience for some of your young kids to get a feel for what it's like.
Totally agree. Brian Bradley joining us from Amalie Arena. If Kucherov doesn't win the scoring title, if McKinnon catches him, can he still win the MVP? I think he has to win the scoring race. I would agree.
No, I would agree with you, JT. I think if Kucherov wins the scoring championship, he wins the MVP. Because there's no way, and I don't care what the guys say on the NHL Network or guys that are on the Boomer and the NHL talk shows where, I would give it to McKinnon right now. They're working on the power. Here the guys are working on the power play, coming in the zone, Stamkos, Hedman. They're setting up the power play right now on the ice with Kucherov on the far side. But you know what? If Kucherov wins the scoring championship, he's the most valuable player in the league. He's been like that all year. I don't care what anybody says. If he doesn't win the scoring championship and the most valuable player and he wins the championship, that's a joke in my book. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, let's go back. I think we go back how many years right now? We're going to go back to like 2015 or 16. I think Jamie Benn won the scoring championship at 87 points or something like that. I don't even think he got 100 points that year. We're almost like, what, 4, 7, 8 years later, and guys are getting 130 or 40 points now, or 40, 50. It's crazy, the numbers now.
Yeah. I completely agree. There's, Kucherov has been the most dominant playmaker in the game. By the way, he was voted by the NHLPA yesterday, 29%. He got 29%. I think McDavid got 20% as the best playmaker in the game. And I've been saying that for a long time. I don't think it's even arguable at this point.
No question. I haven't seen a guy with his skill passing the puck and making plays on his stick besides Wayne Gretzky and Marilyn Neal. And there's a lot of guys you can talk about, Sakic and Forsberg and Yzerman and Messier and, guys, the list goes on. Paul Kariya, Timo Delaney. I can just keep naming guys over the years. But Kucherov, there is no one better you want on your power play besides him. That guy's a wizard with the puck. He makes stuff happen that no one else can do. I mean, it is truly amazing to watch. I mean, he made that play last game where he whipped it around from behind to point for the goal. That's crazy stuff what he does. But you know what? That's Kucherov, and he's always trying to be better. So to me, if the Kucherov wins a scoring championship, he's the most valuable player in the league. And you know what? The players will tell you there. 29% of the votes went to Kucherov, 20% went to Nate McKinnon. Nate's a power forward. He's a great player. Don't get me wrong. Stanley Cup champion on Colorado. Every team would want him. But you know what? In terms of creating and being dynamic, Kucherov can do everything. He's amazing.
Agreed. Brian Bradley joining us here. And from a team standpoint, Brian, you've watched this team struggle a little bit this year. Now they're 11-2-1 in their last 14 as they had to make the playoffs. Since they acquired Duclair and Dumba, this team has been phenomenal. Everybody has stepped up, not just those guys. I mean, at this point, what do you think their chances are to win another cup? I mean, I know they'll be a 7th seed, but home ice doesn't mean squat in the playoffs.
No.
How good of a chance do you think they have to win it all?
Well, you know what? I like the goaltending. I like their forwards. I just think the young kids are going to have to step up and really take it to a different level. I'm not worried about Dumbo. I'm not worried about Chernak, and I'm not worried about Victor Hedman. And I think Victor Hedman has to really step his game to a different level going into the playoffs. Vazzy's going to have to, you know what? I'll be honest with you. Vazzy's going to have to win the Conn Smythe Trophy for us to win the Stanley Cup. He's going to have to steal a series against somebody where, you know what, maybe we're down 3-2 or 2-1, and he comes back and wins 3 in a row or whatever. But to me, if we win the Stanley Cup, it's going to be sitting here and talking about Vasilevsky's a Conn Smythe Trophy winner because he was just the best goalie in the playoffs by far.
Yeah. Well, Brian, I think we'll see when the playoff combos come out, the matchups. It looks like it's probably going to be the Bruins at this point, and obviously the Lightning have played well against them this year. So I'd like their spot in the first round if it's Boston. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, I like Boston. I mean, I think we play well against them. They've got a great team. They're not physical. They're not a tough team like they were. They don't have the Cam Neelys or Lyndon Byers or Zdeno Charos. They're not a physical team. I mean, whoever thinks they're physical, they're not. They just play a good system. They got a great coach.
Yeah.
You know what? They've got some good players. Their goaltending's been hot. They've been really good the last year or two. But you know what? They didn't win last year against Florida in 7. And you know what? I like our chances against the Boston Bruins in the first round. Like I said, the only team I don't want to play right now is Carolina. I think Carolina right now, who went into Boston and beat them 4-1 the other night.
Yeah.
Carolina they picked up some things that they needed. And you know what? They picked up scoring. They've always had a great defensive team. You don't score many times against Carolina, but they could not put the puck in the net in the playoffs. And you know what? That hurt them last year. But I think picking up Gensel, Svechnikov, the guys that, the guy they got from Washington and Gensel from Carolina, that makes a big difference on their team. They are dynamic now.
Yeah. All right, Brian, go enjoy the rest of that. Thanks for the breaking news. Looks like Tompkins is in that tonight, and I think that's good. Give Vassy some rest. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. See you tonight.
See you guys. Have a great night. Go Bolts.
Go Bolts. The great Brian Bradley, multimedia journalist. He's an MMJ, baby. That's what That's what we're going to call him.
We've come so far with Mr. Bradley, haven't we?
How about that, man? He's got it all down. He loves it too. Now he's like, yeah, watch me. Like I'm doing the phone thing. And there we go. We got some breaking news. I mean, I don't think, that's the way it goes. I mean, maybe Vassie's just taking a break this morning. I don't know. But Bradley's right. When the person that's going to play is in that side of the net, and that's Tompkins. So,
well, I mean, again, it's like, what are you going after? Like, I mean, Toronto's 6 points ahead. I don't think you want to pass Toronto anyway. So you're not moving anywhere. You're probably going to play Boston. That's going to be etched in stone. You're playing Ottawa tonight. Like, why is there a reason for Vasilevsky to play? And it gives Tompkins, I mean, he's up here because Johansson's hurt. So this is going to be his first start ever at Amalie Arena. So that's a big deal for Matt Tompkins. And if you look at Vasilevsky, like he missed all that time. You know, you blink and he's already played 50 games this year, JP.
I know.
Like, and this is not too far off from like his other totals, his full-time season. He played 50 in 16-17, 53 in 18-19, 52 in 19-20, which obviously was a little bit of abbreviated. And then 63 and 60 the previous 2 seasons. So like, even though he had the injury, like I won't necessarily say like, oh, they've managed like him more differently, like than they have in recent years. He still played a lot of hockey for a guy that came back 2 months after back surgery. So,
yeah, I don't think him, taking a night off, so to speak, in the middle of a week when you have Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday is a big deal.
And hell, I'd give him another night off against, if they wanted to, they could give him a night off against Buffalo on Monday. I'd let him get Washington on Saturday.
Yeah,
if they want to give him a night off on Buffalo, cool, and then play the season finale against Toronto on Wednesday.
I would agree with that.
I don't know.
No. And then the playoffs are going to start, I think, on the April 22nd. I think is when the playoffs start. I think that's what they've announced so far. So the first 2 games, so 22-24 would probably be in Boston, and then 26-28 would be at home, if I'm not mistaken.
April 22nd.
Yeah. All right, we have breaking news, don't we?
Yeah. OJ Simpson.
Don't act like it's a sad thing, bro.
It's not a sad thing. I'm just trying how to present it, I guess. OJ Simpson has passed away from his battle with cancer. His family announced today on Twitter.
Yeah.
Which clearly that is all anybody's talking about now on Twitter is OJ Simpson.
I don't know why.
Everything from OJ Simpson to Chloe to the Juice to Ron Goldman to Naked Gun. All of that is trending on Twitter now.
Let's take a break. I want to gather my thoughts about OJ Simpson because I'm old enough to have, watched the Juice become an icon. I mean, an icon for good reasons. So we'll talk a little bit about that. It's kind of a mess. It's one of the most polarizing persons probably in the history of our country. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So quick break. We will come back, talk a little bit about OJ Simpson. We got to get to a lot more on the Rays. We got a lot on Bucks draft, all kinds of stuff coming your way. We're brought to you by the great folks at Extravaganza Productions. Folks, for the last 34 years, Extravaganza Productions has been the production company. When anybody big comes to town, like the Warrior games, who do they reach out to? Extravaganza Productions. The Pro Padel League last year did their inaugural 6-week season. And of course, who do they call? Extravaganza Productions, because you're going to get the best in audio, visual, and creative planning. They execute to perfection. That's Extravaganza Productions. So if you got a charity event, a birthday party, a business meeting, large or small, Extravaganza Productions can make it the best it can be. So just go to their website, extravaganzaproductions.com. Give them a call or email them. Say, I'd like to set up a creative meeting with you guys. They'll do that for free. And if you want to take a little tour of their incredible warehouse where they have all the great props from Outback Bowl parties and Warrior games and all these other things, incredible things in there that you could use for your party. I mean, it's some really, really cool stuff, and the creative ideas will just flow. So they're great folks over there, true professionals, Paul Thomason, Dolly Brown, all those great folks over there, extravaganzaproductions.com. Quick break, back in 3 here on the JP Peterson Show. Stay with us. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group and my man Scott Jeeves, who lives right here and has long been a highly respected member of our community. He's a proud sponsor of the Tampa Riverwalk. Jeeves Law Group is also a proud sponsor of our Grand Central District in St. Pete and has neighborhood events throughout the year. He has an office on Central Avenue in St. Pete and one on South Howard in Tampa. You can't get more local than that. So when you need an attorney, you're going to hire some huge firm that advertises all over the state or the one that supports your favorite sports show. It's the Jeeves Law Group. We're local, we're trusted, and we get results. For personal injury and personal attention, call us for a free case evaluation. That's 8889-JEEVES. That's 8889-JEEVES. All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on True Body and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Did you know Steve Weintraub founded the Gold and Diamond Source over 40 years ago by selling gold-plated sand dollars? And to celebrate, the Gold and Diamond Source is selling gold sand dollar jewelry with the proceeds supporting Julie and Steve Weintraub's foundation, Hands Across the Bay. Yes, in 1984, Steve opened their first location, expanded to 9 stores as far as Atlanta, but now they've consolidated all that inventory under one roof, becoming one of the largest family-owned fine jewelry stores in the country. Julie, of course, joined forces with her husband 20 years ago, and they're going to celebrate by offering up to 40% off select jewelry items. Plus, with gold prices near all-time highs, it's the perfect time to trade in your broken or unworn pieces for something new and stunning. Unlock the value in your jewelry box today at the Gold and Diamond Source. It's always one place, and it's always a great place. The Gold and Diamond Source celebrating their 40th anniversary, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here, brought to you by the great folks at Hydrate Heroes, the beverage with benefits, and the Gold and Diamond Source. It's their 40th anniversary in April. The birthstone is diamonds, so 20% off all the diamonds at the Gold and Diamond Source. And, of course, they have the biggest selection, the greatest selection, and they have the Golden Diamond Source Diamond Savings Account. If you buy a diamond there, you can always bring it back and get what you paid to get a bigger and better diamond. So if you first doing that first engagement ring thing like Nick did, you get a nice diamond, but you can always bring it back and upgrade that thing. And you can't find that just anywhere. It's the Gold and Diamond Source. Also, folks, if you're part of the First Buyers Club, and Nick went through this, unfortunately, I was second time around. They will do all the education for you for free. The 4 C's, what is it? Cut, clarity, whatever, all that good stuff. They'll do all that for you, teach you about the diamonds. And here's the other thing. You trust them, right? When they tell you it's an S1, it's this, that, and the other, you know that's true because they've been there for 40 years. There's a lot of places out there that don't play that way. They're just looking to upgrade cheaper diamonds, and you pay more. You can trust the folks at the Gold and Diamond Source. You know what you're getting. So head on over there. Tell them JP sent you. 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at the Gold and Diamond Source. All right, so O.J. Simpson passes away at the age of 76. He was battling leukemia. I didn't know he had cancer. Did not know.
I did not know either.
But I grew up as a Miami Dolphin fan. So, the Buffalo Bills, the electric company, I watched every year O.J. Simpson come into the Orange Bowl and run for 225 yards against my beloved Miami Dolphins. He was phenomenal. He was as good as it gets. And when it came to his post-career, OJ was one of the first black athletes to really collect big-time endorsement dollars. I mean, he was probably the first black athlete that got into broadcasting that I can remember at such a huge level. Did sidelines for Monday Night Football. He was the voice of the NFL for many, many, many years, and incredible businessman. The Hertz commercials we remember, iconic. Him jumping over baggage and whatnot. You don't remember any of this stuff, Nick. But he was, Heisman Trophy winner at USC, one of the great tailbacks there, and then went to the NFL and was the first guy to run for 2,000 yards behind Joe DeLamielleure and that great Buffalo Bills offensive line. So he accomplished so many incredible things in his life. That's why when when the whole Ron Goldman and Nicole thing happened, and I think many of us will always believe that he did it, whether he was exonerated or not. I will say this, the case that was brought against him was not very well presented and left a lot of doubts in people's minds, especially in the jury. So I get it, but it's still, that I can't remember a person that rose to that level of fame and icon status that everyone believes chopped off two people's heads and was running around for another 35 years. I can't think of anybody else. Can you? It's just the most bizarre. It's one of the most bizarre things in history that we've ever seen. And I remember the last time I saw OJ in person, and I saw him many, many times, but last time I saw him in person I was down in Miami. So when I was working for Channel 8, we were doing the Bucks broadcasts. We were doing a preseason game down there. And I was with Jaworski and Chris Myers, and Chris worked with OJ a lot. And so, and lived in LA. So Chris had a relationship with OJ, but he was like, yeah, this is weird. So we walked into this steak place down on South Beach. We were having our production meeting, and there was OJ at the bar, and he was working the bar. I mean, there were tons of women around him. And I'm just like, wow, he cut off two people's heads, right? Allegedly. Like, this, right? But people just treated him normally. And it was just, I know when you're exonerated, I get it. But it's like, we know, right? We kind of know what happened here. And you're treating him like a regular dude. And so Chris was like, yeah, just, let's go down to the other end of the bar. I really don't want to talk to OJ. I'm like, I get it. So we go to our table and we're sitting there eating, and OJ walks up. He's like, hey, Chris, what's up, Jaws? And it was like, I'm like, wow, that's OJ Simpson. That's the juice. And, it was just the most awkward conversation ever. And then he kind of walked away. So that's my juice story. It's we don't talk about it often, obviously, but when you look at the totality of his American story, it's unlike any other. It's unlike any other. And, he's passed. And, from time to time, he would pop up on Twitter saying things and, and doing videos and stuff. And it's just like, I could never look at the dude the same way. Just couldn't do it. So
how could you? I mean, listen, I wasn't around for anything that OJ Simpson did in his professional career, and clearly the murders ring. That was like 5 years before I was born, I believe. But I have done so much research into that case. I have watched every documentary they have ever made on this case.
Really?
It was always like, it was right around the time when ESPN came out with the Made in America OJ series in 2016. It was a 5-part series, which if you haven't watched it, it's very thorough and detailed, and every big member of that case and that was involved is represented there. And so from my opinion of watching that and doing some other research independent of that documentary, I personally have no reason to believe how anybody could have ever thought this guy was not guilty. It never makes sense to me when I read everything and watch everything. Even like just little things like DNA wasn't a big thing back then. Nobody knew what DNA was.
Right.
And we had people trying to discredit DNA. And nowadays that would never happen. I mean, one DNA match, it's over, right? And for whatever reason, he just went on, like you said, it's like he went on to try to live a normal life, and he had such a lack of judgment. He always had a lack of empathy, it felt like, for any type of thing. Like he was completely clear of anything.
Yeah.
Right. And then to be such an idiot, and I don't use that word lightly, an idiot, to then go get in trouble again.
Yeah.
13 years later.
Bring a gun into a hotel room and threaten people with a gun for a memorabilia show or something, whatever was going on. Yeah.
Right. So to be an idiot for that, and then in my opinion, the law then to even let him back out in 2017, 2018. Yeah. And then him again, just living a normal life and what's up, Twitter world, and doing his whole thing there. And it's like people just turned a blind eye to everything he did.
Yeah.
And you can tell me all the time, well, he was acquitted. Well, you know what? Casey Anthony was acquitted too.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
I mean, the justice system, just in folks,
ridiculous.
Doesn't always get it right.
Yeah.
And I know, and I could tell you they did not get it right in that instance. So is this a sad day? No. And I hate saying that because someone lost a life. You know who it's sad for?
He took 2 lives.
Yeah, he took 2 lives. It's sad for
prime.
his kids. It's sad for his kids, if anything, because it still is their father. And, you know, no matter what your father did or what you think they did, it's always your father, and you always hold on to that. So it's sad for them to an extent, but for anybody else that has no affiliation with the guy, I don't understand how this is a sad day.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear what you guys think in the comment section. Like, how do you view his life? How do you view O.J. Simpson? I mean, I just have a completely different view. I mean, it's weird for me because, you know, he was, like I said, I'm a Dolphin fan, so it wasn't like he was my favorite player, but you loved O.J. Man, you just loved O.J. He was the nicest guy, and I met him probably a couple times before the murders happened early on in my career. And anybody who came in contact with OJ loved him. I mean, that's why he was such a high riser in business and in broadcasting. Everybody, he was one of the most affable people. He would talk to everybody. He got it. He really understood. He was very charming, extremely, extremely charming dude. And that's why it was so off the reservation when you heard about this. You're like, O.J. Simpson did what? He thinks, and then you remember the O.J. chase. Folks, innocent people don't do that. This just
it's what I'm saying. It's the most ridiculous thing. Like if you watch that
so
whole
many parts of
timeline.
it. Yeah, there's so many parts of it. I remember watching the O.J. chase, and I was in the newsroom at News Channel Channel 27 in Tallahassee when the whole news thing was going down. And I remember we were watching stuff on back end of the satellite too. Back in the day, we had direct feeds from ABC News, so we're watching back then. There was and Peter Jennings, I believe Peter Jennings is on there, and he's getting people on the phone. And evidently, one of the Howard Stern people called in, and he was like, pulling a prank. There's like, there's so much commotion going on there, Peter. There's commotion everywhere. There's just commotion. I don't know if any of y'all remember this. And he's interviewing him. And he's like, what vantage point can you see? Oh, I can see the whole thing. He's got his gun, but there's cops around everywhere. There's commotion. You know what I mean by commotion? And then at the end, he's like, Baba Louie or Baba Booey, whatever the hell they say, the Howard Stern thing. So he got totally pranked. And it was just like this thing that captivated America, not only the chase, but the trial. And every day we're watching that. It was really the first trial I ever remember being broadcast, and that was of any note. And all of these people became stars. Marcia Clark became a star. The Kardashians were born, right? I mean, he was OJ's lawyer.
That's probably the worst thing that came out of this, to be honest.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So it changed like the whole. Yeah, think about that. Becoming famous for being famous, right? For being infamous, and that's what OJ. That was part of his legacy. Honestly. Courtroom television, and then you go back to the actual case, right? And Mark Furman, who was clearly racist. I mean, and they're like, and you couldn't, like, this was an open and shut case because you had OJ's blood at the scene, a trail of blood. You had Ron Goldman and Nicole's blood at his house. Found at his house. The blood trail was in it
on his socks.
Yeah, on his socks, the bloody sock, the trip to Chicago, like all the different stuff. You couldn't be more guilty. Like, how do you F up that case? Well, Marcia Clark found a way to do it.
Well, the context of what was going on, and again, I wasn't there. I'm only telling you the experience of me watching and reading. The context of what was going on in the world at that time,
Yeah.
in that city at the time.
Rodney King.
And it was racially charged.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was a real thing. And clearly and it's all there. Like I'm not the legal guy, not the prosecution, but the other side, the defense. There you go. The defense clearly took an angle, and Johnny Cochran being included was it was going to be a race thing.
Yeah.
And they got
smart.
It was a smart play.
Yeah,
and listen,
absolutely.
What happened was they went full in on the race card, and it was like almost like an entertainment thing. It made it entertaining, I'm sure, for people to tune in and watch.
Yeah.
And they were bringing up all those
things.
It
became a TV show. Absolutely.
And whereas the prosecution was just trying to give you facts, and they were giving you DNA, which nobody knew what it was at the time. And listen, they poked and prodded at the prosecution for potentially being racist cops and everything. And the way I viewed it is they folded under it. They just completely folded under it. And like Mark Furman, clearly a racist. And he was the worst thing. And I think his whole thing and taking the stand and the whole pleading of the fifth and all that was probably the downfall of the whole thing, truthfully.
Oh, I can't wait to get Tim on tomorrow. He just texted me. He said, I remember this very well, and I never thought he was guilty. Is he being serious?
Tim. Come on.
I mean, I will say this. You can make a case, and they did make a case, that was it possible that Mark Furman went to the scene and scooped up some blood and then went to OJ's house and placed some blood there?
But they used that based off.
Yes.
They used that based off of clips on 10 years ago of him saying, obviously, the N-word all over the place. Right. I'm not exonerating Mark Furman for that whatsoever. Right. But in the context of the case, the facts that were presented and everything that you knew, there was no evidence that Mark Furman did anything out of line in that case.
Right.
But obviously, because of how racially charged everything was,
a shadow of a doubt. There's a reasonable.
That's
doubt.
what they were just trying to do. They were trying to create any shadow of a doubt. So the defense played it perfectly in that whole case.
They did, and then allowing them to put a blood-stained glove on, which clearly would shrink, and especially over time, if and you have them put it on, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit, right? The isotoner gloves, where did he buy them? Go back on his credit. Just reliving the whole thing,
right?
Is which I'm sure we will be doing over the next 48 to 72
I'm sure
hours.
all these documentaries are going to be blasted on ESPN now, probably potentially again.
Yes,
and even the June 17th, because that's the whole thing. June 17th is 1994. Everybody knows that day if you're a sports fan. And even if you're not just a sports fan, because everybody was watching what was it, like almost 100 million people in the United States were watching O.J. Simpson's car chase?
Yeah.
And on that day, you have the Game 5 of the NBA Finals, which was taken off, I believe.
Yes.
For the O.J. Imagine that. Imagine that in the modern day, that let's say the Lakers are playing and LeBron's in the NBA Finals, and they yanked it from the air thing to show a chase.
Yeah.
Imagine. That'd be the equivalent of that today. So, again.
Yeah, Thomas Casper says F. Lee Bailey asked, was it F. Lee Bailey?
Yeah, it was F. Lee Bailey.
Have you ever said the N-word? And they knew damn well that they had him on tape.
He pleaded the fifth.
Yeah, and they had it, and they had him on tape. And they played the tape, and it just Thomas says unanswerable. Yeah.
And they all knew he was
every
guilty.
OJ defense attorney said OJ was guilty. I mean, you shouldn't laugh about it because it's a gruesome crime. And that's the other part of it is the crime was so gruesome.
Yeah.
And it was like you just couldn't wrap your arms around the fact that this guy, O.J. Simpson, the most charming dude you'd ever seen in your life. And, one of the things that was most telling to me is when I heard the 911 calls from the Cole. Because I was like a lot of other people. I was like, OJ, no way. OJ's the nicest dude. Like OJ could never do something that brutal. And, people think that he was in a cocaine rage. And then when I heard him on those 911 calls and the rage, and then saw the pictures of Nicole beat up, black-eyed, and I was like, oh, wow. There's a dark side to this guy that I had no idea existed. His jealousy, his everything. And I was like, okay, cocaine, jealousy, and that was like when I first kind of went, whoa, this is, of course, but of course, I I don't even think they ever allowed the 911 tapes to be played to the jury because it was supposedly not part of the case. I'd have to recheck that. But that to me was one of the most eye-opening things I'd ever, because like everybody else in America, saw O.J. Simpson as a totally different dude. And it was weird. James says, of what OJ did, I never put blame on the jury because how can you blame them for having an anti-LAPD stance? The prosecution blew and great attorneys trump bad prosecutors. 100%. I never got mad at the jury. When you saw how the case was spun and done and the mistakes that were made by the prosecution, in fact, I used to say, I said this all the time, that if I was part of the jury, and you're going to understand that so much of the evidence that we know, they never saw. So because their attorneys did such a great job of keeping evidence out of the jury. And plus, the jury being part of that whole era, you just couldn't trust LAPD.
Well, here's the thing though. And this is in that Made America documentary. And Carrie Bess, who was one of the jurors, she's in that documentary. And she was asked if anybody in the jury intentionally voted to acquit him as payback to Rodney King. And she said she believed it was 90% of the jury believed that way, not because they believed that he was innocent. And then she was asked if she believed that was the correct thing to do. All she did was shrug. So again, I know you might not want to blame the jury, but I'm just saying, that to me right there confirms it just about. And that's kind of how I feel about it in the end, that it was all because of the context, what was happening at the time. And it was to get back on Rodney King.
Wow. How about that?
I'm telling you, if you go watch the OJ Made in America documentary, there's a lot of really good snippets there of how this happened.
Yeah, there's a lot of good documentaries, which you will be able to go see. Cause I think there's probably a whole generation. Well, I'm honestly shocked how much you know about this case, Nick, to be honest. It just was so.
I don't know what it was, but when it came out in 2016, it had like a stranglehold on me for like the entire summer. Like I've watched this documentary probably 10 times over.
I'll probably rewatch it.
The one on Netflix too, there's a 10-part series and everything. That's a little bit more, it's not real, so it's exaggerated a little bit, but it's also very good, and some other stuff as well. But like I said, I'm sure it's going to be blasted all over ESPN now the next week.
I'm trying to think of somebody like in modern day that would be a comp to OJ, because this is something that you can't get a perspective on because you didn't see him play. You didn't grow up with him as an entertainment and football icon. That would just snap today, and he would be. And I don't want to do this because if I name a name, then I'm going to.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to name a name because.
But just think of a person right now who was literally, the first 2,000-yard rusher, a Heisman Trophy winner, on the Tonight Show, every show and movies, everything. He was everywhere.
I will give you
loved by everyone.
I will give you this, and this happened when I was a kid, so I have somewhat of a remembrance of this, and it has to do with wrestling because it is in my world.
Yeah,
like I don't know if you remember Chris Benoit, because I know that made national headlines.
Yeah,
he was one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, fan favorite and everything. And in 2007, he murdered his wife and son and then hung himself. And he was in the WWE at the time, like he was one of their biggest stars, and everybody loved him. And then you find out, oh, there's this other side to him of this rage and everything. And he, like I said, he murdered his wife and his son and then hung himself. So, again, that happened when I was kind of a kid. This was 2007. But I guess if I had to compare it to anything, it's kind of like that in my world a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I don't want to mention a name, but you can insert name right now. I mean, if who does all these things like OJ used to do, and then you suddenly find out, oh, this dude could be a murderer, like a double murderer, slit people's throats. Like it's unlike anything that has ever happened in America. And, today OJ Simpson passes away. And the sad part is, he lived 40, 35 years longer than Ron Goldman and Nicole Simpson did.
Correct.
Nicole Brown Simpson did, which is, that's horrific. And if you've ever seen Ron Goldman's dad interviewed, it just that really takes it to the heart of what it was all
and people bang on him for, it's 30 years. It's 30 years ago. Move on. You're not not in that position to tell anybody to move on. First of all,
no. It's I'll be interested to see how people, because let's just be honest, in this world that we live in, also very racially charged. Everything is looked through the lens of race, which is just horrible in and of itself. It'll be interesting to see when all this stuff gets brought up again, because it will, like we've just discussed, how it's treated in the modern day media. I'll be very interested to watch how that whole thing goes down. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll get back to talking some more local stuff here, but wanted to certainly get into that breaking news and that discussion for some of you who, I hope we put that in a little bit of perspective for you. Given my age and Nick's age, I think it's pretty cool. Our good friends at Synovus Bank, don't forget about them. One of the local managers is my buddy John Acosta, who's been in the local banking industry since 1983, if you can believe that. Lots of folks over at Synovus Bank, just like John Acosta, that have been working in the local banking industry. You know them, you love them. It's the big bank with a local bank feel. So if you've been thinking about changing banks or you need a new account, go to Synovus.com, find a local branch right near you, head on in there, ask for John Acosta, who works in the downtown branch, or anybody like him, and they will give you great customer service. Synovus Bank, Synovus.com. All right, back in 3. Stay with us. Hey, it's a great time to buy a house and get a mortgage with American Mortgage Services. Okay, I got your attention now, but JP, rates are at 8%. That's true. But I spoke with our friend Scott Fitzgerald at AMS Tampa, and this is what smart people are doing. Rates peaked at 8% last month, but they've come down, and AMS recently locked some folks in the high 6s. Prices have also stabilized or dropped in some areas. So if you're going to eventually buy, now is the best time to get the house you want. Fitz will get you the best rate out there, shopping it around to dozens of lenders, and when rates come down in a year or so, and the frenzy begins again, prices go bananas again, you will already have the pick of the litter. Then he will refinance you and keep costs at nearly zero, because that's what they do at AMS Tampa. You're back at 4% in the house you wanted while others fight the frenzy. Be smart. Stay one step ahead. Email Fitz at scott@amstampa.com, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. Scott Fitzgerald, NMLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida. All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on True Body and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Everyone knows Italiano Insurance is your go-to for home insurance, but they also have an amazing team that focuses on business insurance. Yes, your business is most likely your biggest asset, so make sure you have the right coverage at the most competitive price. And if you started a side hustle recently, don't forget you need business insurance, because if you get sued in this over-litigious society we live in, you could lose all your personal wealth. So get that business insurance. And for the best customer service, always choose Italiano. My representative, Charity, is amazing. I called her late on a Friday because my insurance was going to lapse. She stayed late until the job was done. You just don't find that anymore. Give them a call, 813-877-7799. That's 813-877-7799. Italiano Insurance.
JP here for Extravaganza Productions. You know, I've worked with these pros on so many big and small events. They recently did the Kappa Alpha Psi Grand Reunion, the Tampa RV Show Exhibit. They did the Skills Center opening of Tampa Bay. They can do those small events. They do the biggest of events. So if you are thinking about planning a meeting or special event, call the talented staff at Team EPI. They will give you a free creative meeting if you mention the JP Peterson Show. They will provide you with an exceptional experience. Heck, they'll even show you their huge warehouse with great props. Anything you want. They'll do it on time and on budget. You can reach them at their Tampa headquarters at 813-621-4700 or go to extravaganzaproductions.com. Tell them JP sent you.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here today as we have the breaking news. O.J. Simpson has passed away at the age of 76. Just went and got my Hydrate Heroes beverage with benefits. Right now, if you go to hydrateheroes.com, you get a special offer. You get the 30-pack, 30 of the stick packs that you poured into your, and they'll send you the cup as well, the mix-up cup. And you pour that in there, mix it up with the water, and you get this great hydration drink that has so many more benefits. No sugar, no caffeine, only 5 calories. You go out and pick up one of these hydration drinks at Publix, you're going to pay $9-10 for a pack of 8 of them. You can get 30 for $29.99, free shipping as well. 30 for $29.90. So $1 a bottle. You go to 7-Eleven, you're going to pay $2.50, $3 for a hydration drink, right? So much more cost effective and so much better for you. You've got amla fruit which is one of the most potent antioxidants on the planet. Magnesium, potassium, elderberry, all this good stuff that's in here that helps your body function a heck of a lot better. So go get your Hydrate Heroes. 15% goes to veterans groups to help out our military. So go to hydrateheroes.com and get your $29.99 30-pack right now. I got to get you some, Nick. We'll ship you some of this stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm all into the health kick stuff now. So
yeah,
go
ahead.
No, go ahead.
So when you go get a hydration drink, like where it's usually 150, 200 calories for 16 ounces, 5 calories, and it tastes sweet. Like it tastes really sweet and doesn't have artificial sweeteners in it. So it's just really, really good. Doesn't have that gross aftertaste that you normally get from artificial flavors. So yeah, it's a really excellent. Derek Brooks is one of the equity partners. We'll have Derek on talking about it soon. So get you some Hydrate Heroes.
I was just saying, I went to go see Chris Lugo last Thursday. And so I had and I can't confirm, by the way, nice. He sits down with you face to face over an hour. We just talked. And, even when you feel like you're not thinking of something, he brings something to the table that wasn't on your mind and you talk through more stuff and everything. And it was a great experience. So just like, as we've been saying on this show for the last year or two, he's the real deal. And I can attest to it, and got the blood done on Monday and everything. And we'll be waiting.
Yeah, that's the thing with your health right now. If you go to a doctor, because I have Florida Blue Insurance, and they give you a primary care doctor. You go in there, and then they literally spend 10 minutes with you, 10 to 15. This has been my experience, and it's like they don't care. They're just right. They don't ask you questions like Chris asks you, like, what are your sleeping habits? What are your eating habits? And go in depth with it. They don't have time. I'm not trying to demean the doctors at all. They just don't have time. It's the medical machine that we have these days. All they're doing is trying to find a script that they can just write you and get you out the door. And maybe it'll help you. Maybe it won't. They don't take any personal interest in your actual health.
Yeah.
So, with Chris, you go in there and you go get your blood work done. That's covered by my insurance. Now you're going to pay a little extra for the concierge attention that you get it. But isn't it worth it to have somebody that actually listens and can say, all right, let's do X, let's do Y, let's do Z. And because it's personalized to you. They're not just he's not looking to write a script. He's looking to cover up the symptom. He's looking to fix what's going on with you, what the problem is.
And when you make an appointment, by the way, I had a 1:30 appointment. I walked in at 1:26 and he was standing at the door greeting me already. And we got right to business. So you don't get that anywhere else.
No. Ashley just went to the doctor the other day. She waited an hour and a half. You make an appointment a certain time, and she waits an hour and a half before she sees the doctor for 10 minutes. What is this, a Madonna concert?
10 minutes is generous typically.
Yeah.
Really is.
I mean, ridiculous. So you don't have to put up with that. And I would suggest that if you want true health care, do it the way I do it. I use my insurance for, you can go see specialists who will be able to spend some more time with you, but just someone to direct your health. And it's, oftentimes it's not when you're sick. and this is what Chris talks about all the time. You want to stay well. That's the whole plan here. Doing things that are going to keep you well, like this, drinking things that are much more beneficial for you than the high sugar hydration drinks or these energy drinks, which are really, really bad for you. Like if you dig down deep, and Chris will talk to you about this when you go see him, there's stuff in these drinks. Yeah, it gets you a little hype for a little while, but not good for you at all in the long term. And you got people, sucking down 3, 4, 5 of them a day. So be careful with your health, especially out there right now, because there's people just try to make money, and they don't have your best interest in mind. Let's just put it that way. All right, we haven't talked a lot about the Rays win yesterday, 4-2. They win the series. They win the road trip. All good. They come home this weekend to face the Giants. And guess who's pitching at the Trop on Sunday? Blake Snell.
Ooh.
For your Rays, by the way. Blake Snell will be pitching against the Giants. You think he's going to be a little fired up?
Oh, I think both sides are going to be a little fired up.
Pitching against them, slap.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah. At his words, not mine.
Well, he's not going to make Brandon Lau look foolish. That's for sure at the plate.
Dude.
Oof. I'm sorry.
Dude, if you haven't heard, and I won't even call it breaking news.
I didn't even want to lead it. This is all me. This
news department.
I didn't even want to lead in with this because the Rays just had a nice road trip, but I couldn't help myself there. I'm sorry. Not that he would have been in the lineup anyway against the lefty, but
Oblique strain, right oblique strain, not his back, oblique strain, not what he originally hurt. I forget what the first thing he hurt was.
It was a left oblique. It was his other oblique.
Yeah.
So now he's got both obliques.
Can you imagine Cash like, hey, might pinch hit for you in the 7th inning? He goes down into this cage, comes back, and the trainer comes back and looks at Cash and goes, he can't hit. He hurt himself in the cage. Can you imagine? Kevin Cash, are you serious? Yeah, he hurt himself in the cage. He can't hit. Can you imagine Cash just go, what are we doing? What are we doing?
First of all, I know we're laughing, but I feel bad for the guy because
Cash or
for Brandon Lau. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and debate with you and tell you that Brandon Lau is when healthy, and that he's not an outstanding player and one of the best second basemen in baseball. In fact, you look at the whole WRC plus, he's like top 10 all time at the position. And I want people to understand that the power that he gave you, hitting 39 home runs, especially, 3 years ago now, at second base, that doesn't happen often in the annals of MLB history, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm here to tell you that Brandon Lau is an outstanding player when he's healthy, but
can't stay healthy.
The more we get along with this, look, he's played in over 100 games twice in his career, 149 in 2021 when he had that year. And then last year, when he was still injured for a while, he played 108. That's the second most games he's played in a season. And
this is the guy we hold on to. We get rid of so many other players. This is the guy we continue to hold on to.
There was a reason why. There was a reason why I called for, I would have considered trading him. But now it's, his option's not getting picked up next year. There's no way.
Good God.
That's the part. This is the last year.
And then he'll stay healthy for somebody else and hit 40 dongs.
I don't know. Listen, remember we spoke to Matt Joyce right before the season started, and I asked him about Brandon Lau, and he kind of put me on. He said, I'm concerned about Brandon because of these back issues, right? And Brandon's not young anymore. He's about to be 30 years old, and these are
That's right. He did say that.
You're not going to magically, your back's not going to magically, I feel like when you turn 30, just magically just turn a corner, and now he's just got other things going on, obliques on both sides at the same time. It sucks for Brandon Lau, of course, but is it surprising? Hardly at all.
No. So he's out for whatever length of time. They bring up Asabi, maybe, who's they just acquired somebody else.
Well, did you see what they did? The AAA team the other night scored 28 runs and had 26 hits.
Holy shiz.
Basabi hit a 3-run home run in that game as well.
Get him. He was pretty good.
Yeah, somebody's gonna have to come up. Meade in particular about this is now where Curtis Meade now. Let's go. Okay, we've been hearing about Curtis Meade for years. He's done everything he needs to do in AAA. He's probably going to get the bulk of the playing time now.
Yeah,
nearly as every day as a player as he could possibly now at second base. This is Curtis Mead's time, and he's had a good start to the season. But these young guys for the Rays, it's time for them to step up now.
Speaking of that, how about Joey Cowboy? Oof. Have a game yesterday, bro. Hits a home run coming off the bat at 109. Smoked that. Made 2 or 3 plays that were just ridiculous. 2 of them directly saving runs. Diving plays, get up off the ground, spinorama. Dude is a spark plug. We saw it the other day where he hit one, not even down the line in left field, just to the left side of the left fielder who had to probably 20 feet off the line. Yep. And he out of the box, he's thinking 2, and he's in there easily. So, I love what Joey Cowboy's given this team, and he's been phenomenal at shortstop. But yesterday, Zach Littell was on the mound. He walked. He gets a leadoff hitter on a called strike 3 that wasn't a strike. So, okay, 1 out. Then he proceeds to walk the next 3.
Right.
He walked 12 batters the entire season last year.
Right.
And he walks 3, probably should have been 4, should have walked in a run. And was getting some calls that Ron Washington was like, are you out of your mind? There was the Doug Eddings was the home umpire last night. He was not good. He was not good.
Many games haven't been good. I feel like we got like the 1990s strike zone back or something.
Yeah, it was bizarre yesterday. And the Rays certainly benefited from that in a very big way. But, listen, the Rays pitchers are smart. They're going to be calling this stuff. Keep throwing it, If they keep throwing it. So the first inning, he gets out of it with the called strike 3 that was crazy. And got a couple of really fortunate plays. There was another play in the first inning. The Rays hit 3 balls. I don't think any of them got to the outfield. One was off Siriano's leg. One was off his glove. And then there was a wild pitch where Arozarena scores from second when Theis, the catcher, can't find the ball. But, credit to Arozarena for never – he comes around second. He's thinking about scoring on a wild pitch because he saw the catcher couldn't find the ball. Brilliant and great play on Randy Arozarena's part. So he scores. They get a couple of misplays. It was a game of just a lot of weird stuff that went the Rays' way, and they get the win 4-2. Good on them. They win the series. Now they come back a game above 500, and they'll face some better teams now as the Giants come in this weekend.
Yeah, but I think all things considered, 7-6 at this point, with the struggles of the bullpen and the lineup being a little spotty. And even, by the way, your 2 most intimidating guys in your lineup, and Yandy and Randy are not. Yandy looks. I haven't seen Yandy look this uncomfortable at the plate in a minute. I think the average is hovering around the Mendoza line now for Yandy, and some very uncomfortable looking swings. So I'm paying attention to that. And Randy, I'm keeping my eye on him because he bulked up a lot this year. And so I have to imagine that obviously changes a lot with his swing.
Yep.
And so, let's see. I want to see those guys get going because right now, Jose Caballero is the MVP of the team right now. To me, there's no doubt about it. He's gotten on base in every single game. He steals bases. Even the play, I don't know if you've mentioned it there. The guy was stealing. I think it was Joe Adell, and I don't even know. Was he paying attention? I don't know. He went right off the bag.
That was bizarre.
He went right off the bag.
Overrun a base when you're stealing.
Right.
You don't slide, and you overrun the base. I guess he got such a great jump. He's like, okay, I got this stolen. But the guy made the throw down there, and and that was a huge play.
It was a heads up.
Nobody out or one out.
Yeah, and it was a heads up play by Jose Caballero to tag him. Obviously, he just did everything for you yesterday. So, I think of the lineup right now, you only got 4 guys really going. It's Caballero, Siri, Wortvet when he gets in there, and Paredes. Outside of those 4 guys, nobody's really going right now, I don't think. And you're 7-6, and these aren't the greatest teams they've played, but it's a West Coast trip. Those are always difficult no matter who you're playing. And now I think you have 10 of your next 13 at home. Mm-hmm. So get some home cooking action and try to keep up in the AL East, which I'm here to report to you. It's early, but the AL East is every team's 500 or better again. So
on fire. Yeah,
everybody's on fire.
Really, really good.
Right.
Baltimore, is going to be good. Even the Red Sox are playing well. It's going to be, this might be a very tough season for the Rays. You think not?
It's so early. I'm just saying, I just feel like considering, I don't think they've played nearly as great Like, I don't think they've played anywhere up to their standard, and they're 7-6. So I'm like, I feel like they've grinded. I understand, but I feel like they've grinded their way out through wins. They found ways to win games.
Awful. The Angels are awful.
They found ways to win games that they really weren't in for the majority of it. And I think there's something to be said about good teams figure that out.
Yeah.
I will say this. Is this the most exciting Rays team that I've seen?
Good God, no.
No.
Boring team.
This is teetering on back to the 2017 season, probably, when Corey Dickerson was your best player. And love Corey, by the way. It's not a shot against Corey. But that team lacked in the excitement department a little bit. And I think probably since then, this is probably that team. But they're just grinding things out right now.
I also there was some stadium news over the past couple of days. Most of it you get out of the Times, which unfortunately does not, in my opinion, do a very good job on this. There's been a bunch of I will say this about the Times. They do print the opinion letters that are numerous and are very anti-deal of this stadium. Again, I have to say this all the time because people misconstrue my point here. I don't want the Rays to leave town, and they're not leaving town. And there is still a deal to be done in Tampa, folks. And I hate that people think that there's not, but there is a deal to be done in Tampa. It's just not going to be the deal that Stu Sternberg wants, where he fleeces the government out of $2.4 billion. The NAACP, the Rays went over to their group yesterday, and they gave a full unanimous vote for this plan, which is, I like the fact that the Rays are reaching out. That's great. But everything that the Rays are promising in this plan, St. Petersburg can do tenfold without a baseball stadium for the Black community. They can get way more affordable housing. It's way better. There'll be way more money for the Black community for other projects if they just develop the land instead of put a baseball stadium on there. So everything that the Rays are promising is great, but you could do it tenfold if you just redevelop the property the way it should be done. So let's make that point. But every other group, or a lot of other groups, the Sierra Club, so many other groups are coming out against this deal because it is such a horrific financial deal that we have talked about ad nauseum. I don't want to kill you people with all the numbers, but even the Times keeps almost every article they write. It's like, oh, it's $280 million to the city is the cost. No, it's not. After interest, it's over $700 million. This is documented. And the cost of the county after interest is over $800 million. So why the Times keeps printing these other numbers that are just the basic numbers, and they're not even the final numbers, by the way, but they're probably the best ones that they could get right now because everything's been kept so secret. But the real cost to taxpayers, as nohomerun.com, go look at that. You can see it right there, is $2.4 billion. $2.4 billion. Selling the land that's worth $700 million for $150 million to the Rays Hines folks at that kind of discount. This is a deal that's going to cripple the city financially forever and Pinellas County. Now, that said, I think, and it's bad for baseball. This is my main point. It's bad for baseball. A terrible location. The same issues are going to be had, and which was why I hope this gets voted down and we get back to doing it the right way in a true public-private partnership in Tampa. It's the same reason that the city of Kansas City, how much do they love the Chiefs and the Royals? They voted down these huge subsidies for stadiums. They just did this. Atlanta did it the right way in a true public-private partnership. Let's do it the right way in the middle of the market in Tampa. And don't say there's no money in there. There's plenty of money there, folks. And it's not public money that's just being given away willy-nilly. It's a plan that gives the taxpayers full benefit and gets their money back, not like the one in St. Petersburg, which is going to be a huge boondoggle. So the stadium keeps losing support among civic leaders, and we now have a timeline that there will be 2 hearings in May and then a vote on June 6th, I believe, and June 19th will be the first 2 votes by the city council. And by my count, there's 3 no's on the council. Ed Molinari may be the swing vote. If he votes no, it's going down. And he's supposed to be a conservative Republican. So we'll see how that goes down. All right, we'll take another break. We'll come back on the other side. I want to get to some Buck stuff. Interesting note on the Brady days that just came out. When are we going to get that documentary too? I want to get to the Tom versus Tom with the Buccaneers stuff when we find out all the good stuff, right? But anyway, there's an interesting nugget there that we'll tell you about. And is Keon Coleman at the top of the list for the Bucks in their draft board? Jason Light's doing a press conference today. I'm sure he'll be asked about that. And I'm sure he won't tell the truth because he shouldn't. So we'll do all that when we come back. We're brought to you by the great folks at the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Scott Jeeves is going to join us next week, I believe, to talk about the Florida state lawsuit and the Florida Gators, his beloved team. If you have any issues with their insurance company, if you've been involved in an accident, go to the local folks that know the local landscape here of the legal world. That's the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Back in 3. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group and my man, Scott Jeeves. If you're going to hire an attorney, do you want some guy looking for a quick settlement and a quick buck, or do you want an attorney with some chops? Scott is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator. Been practicing in the Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. He is a peer-reviewed AV preeminent rated civil trial lawyer. They just don't hand out those classifications. He's been the lead class action counsel on many complex consumer protection cases and has handled hundreds of serious personal injury cases. He's dedicated his career to protecting injured victims and is committed to vigorously representing you. We're local, we're trusted, and we get results. Personal injury and personal attention. Call for a free case evaluation. That's 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES. The Jeeves Law Group. JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA two-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808. Everyone knows Italiano Insurance is your go-to for home insurance, but they also have an amazing team that focuses on business insurance. Yes, your business is most likely your biggest asset, so make sure you have the right coverage at the most competitive price. And if you started a side hustle recently, don't forget you need business insurance because if you get sued in this over-litigious society we live in, you could lose all your personal wealth. So get that business insurance. And for the best customer service, always choose Italiano. My representative, Charity, is amazing. I called her late on a Friday because my insurance was going to lapse. She stayed late until the job was done. You just don't find that anymore. Give them a call, 813-877-7799. That's 813-877-7799. Italiano Insurance.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here on this incredible Thursday. We had the breaking news on O.J. Simpson. We had a really interesting discussion, I thought, on that with myself and Nick. If you missed any of that, always go back and check it out on our podcast, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify. Please subscribe, by the way. Same with our YouTube channel. Subscribe to JP Peterson Show, FanStream Sports. We would really appreciate that. So a lot of interesting stuff here. Bucks draft, or let me get to the other little nuggets. I don't know if you saw this, but somewhere on Twitter, I forget exactly where I saw it. It came out that Julian Edelman, Brady was really, really trying to get him to come to the Buccaneers in 2020, like big time. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if he comes, do we not have the AB experience?
Probably not.
Right. And then maybe we win back-to-back Super Bowls instead of, because, AB had to leave the game against the Jets. Some mental issues. I wonder, You know, how much different does that have? Do we win a world championship? Because, God bless Julian Edelman, he's no AB.
Well, Edelman only played 6 games that season, and then he retired, so he didn't even play the following year.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how much you were gonna. Edelman was coming off though the year where he had 100 catches for over 1,000 yards, so it wasn't like he was washed by any means coming into 2020, and 2020 was a train wreck for the Patriots.
Right.
And he got hurt, I believe. So
bad choice. He evidently told Brady he's a one-team man.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I respect that.
Absolutely. But that's kind of a shot at Brady, isn't it? But I mean, who the hell could? But look what happened to Edelman. He was loyal to the Patriots, and look what happened. Yeah. Not so good. Yeah, his career ended after playing 6 games. So had he come to the Buccaneers,
I will say, looking at it, like trying to put myself back in 2020, I probably would have told you like we were in a simulation. I already thought we were in a simulation when we got Brady, and then Gronk came the month later.
Yeah. And then COVID.
Adding Edelman on top of that, and we were going through COVID, and it was just all weird. I don't know if we all could have handled it, to be honest.
Bizarre.
It would have been even more bizarre. But
how could it be more bizarre than AB, for God's sakes?
Yeah, and AB now is like,
God, is he off the reservation?
He's got the cracker of the day. He's,
the cracker of the day.
Has
Brady been named the cracker of the day yet?
Didn't he apologize to Tom? I have no idea.
Maybe. And then he ripped him again. Anyway, so that's out there. Check that out. Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman, receiver, Florida State, 6'3", 218. I think he ran a 4.56, 40 at the combine. And a lot of people have a first-round grade on him. Made some spectacular catches at FSU. Great contested catch guy. Doesn't run great routes. Not real fluid in terms of his hips, but more of a big guy, but a good returner. It really has a great knack for returning punts and kickoffs, even though he's not a burner. So certainly a great player. I think he's going to be a productive player in the NFL. I really do. There's some people at FSU that I respect that have told me they felt that he was soft at times. I've talked to other people who know him very well that say he's not. He comes from the kind of the mean streets in Louisiana, and is a very he's a very high character guy. He's a very I think he's a guy that is very diligent and wants to play hard. I think that it would fit very well with the Buccaneers. I just don't know if he's a true number one, right? If you're gonna draft somebody in the first round, especially in a deep wide receiver draft, where a Brian Thomas might be there, who's a 4.3 guy, and even bigger than Keon Coleman. Those are the guys that become number ones. It's hard to be a number one, even though Jerry Rice ran a 4.6. It's hard to be a number one when you're not super fast. What did Mike Evans run? A 4.45?
No, Mike ran a 4.53.
4.53.
Keon, I believe, might have been a 4.63. And that's why everybody was freaking out. But again, I'll bring this up again, because at that same combine, when they did the drill where they run across and like it's almost
gauntlet.
Like the gauntlet,
the fastest time in the gauntlet.
Like he had the fastest time, and he was running 5 miles per hour faster than Troy Franklin was running for Oregon,
which by the way is a better number than the 40.
Right,
you're actually playing football.
So I don't look at that. I watched Keon Coleman. I watched every game Florida State played last year. Keon Coleman, contested catches, check.
Yeah.
Does he get the most separation necessarily? Probably not. I don't think that's his strong suit.
Not a great route runner.
Not the greatest route runner.
Neither does Mike, by the way.
But Mike, we're talking about it now. Mike has grown into that position 10 years down the line, right?
Right.
But I do see a little bit of some similarities in this game. Now, he's not the freakish nature that Mike is by any means, but I'm just saying I think there's some similarities to their game a little bit. And I've been saying this. I think it's time for the Bucs to start thinking about life without one of these guys, and I think it's Chris, because I don't think Chris is getting another contract from Tampa Bay. So that's why I have no problem addressing this in the first round or the second round.
Yeah. Is Keon Coleman a replacement for Chris Godwin? I think his comp is more Godwin than it is Mike Evans. And if he could do what Chris Godwin has done, I'm all in.
I just think you need more upside in that room.
The Bucs brought him in for an official visit, and they also did one of their official interviews with him at the combine. So it's clear that he has been identified by the Bucs as a guy that they're looking at. Do I think he's going to be a great receiver? I think honestly, Godwin is a great comp for him. And Godwin's a 3rd round pick. Let's not forget that. There were people that said he's too slow, right? Not big enough. He's not a number 1. And I think he proved in his time, before he got the devastating cheap shot knee injury from the Saints, that he was a number 1. I thought he was one of the top 5 receivers in the league all around, blocking, catch, contested catching, run after the catch, red zone, all that stuff. I thought he was fantastic. Has he been as good since the knee injury? I don't think so. Can he be that again? I think he might be. Nobody works harder than Chris Godwin. This could be a year where we see that explosion again. He's only 28. So I wouldn't write him off just yet. Here's Mike at 30 years old catching 13 touchdown passes for 1,400 yards. So I wouldn't write Chris Godwin off yet.
But he hasn't had injuries like Chris. He's not as banged up.
Exactly. I need an edge rusher and I need a center. That's what I need in the first 2 picks. Those two, because as I've said before, the Bucs roster right now is not a Super Bowl roster. They don't have a dominant edge rusher. And not to say that you're going to get one out of a rookie, but you got to get a better pass rush than they have right now. Just an overall pass rush. And that outside rush, kind of a long guy, which is why I think they got Gregory, a longer guy that can strip the ball from behind. I think that's something that they've been missing, and they need to find that in the draft. They need to find a long edge rusher with some explosion. Are they going to get that at 26? I don't know. They move up and get it? I don't know. They need somebody stout in the middle. Robert Hainsey is not that guy. When you have Baker Mayfield as your quarterback, you cannot have pressure up the middle because Baker has to step into throws and see over guys. So getting somebody stout at left guard and at center is an absolute imperative if your quarterback is going to be Baker Mayfield, which is actually that's who it's going to be.
Right.
So to me, the 2 biggest positions that can affect this team this year are edge rusher and the center position. So I just, I love to get a wide receiver, but I'm going to wait till the 3rd round. We got Godwin in the 3rd round. Maybe we'll find another one there. It's this draft is loaded with great receivers. So the first 2 picks, I'm not interested in. I think Keon Coleman's going to be a 1st or 2nd round pick. So for me, as much as I love him, I think he's a luxury at this point.
Again, it just depends your preference because the league again is skewing offense, and you have to pay attention to all. I'm just saying, if the goal is to win a Super Bowl, and clearly it should be. The Buccaneers, in my opinion, are not close on an offensive standpoint to being a Super Bowl team.
I would agree.
They're 20. I'm just saying they were 23rd in offense last year. Okay, and to me, you need another tight end. That's why I'm saying I think for the first 4, you got 4 picks in the first 92, I believe. In some variation, whatever way you want to put it, edge, receiver, tight end, left guard / center. Some variation of those 4 positions have to be addressed in the first 4 picks, in my opinion. I don't think anything else. Don't give me running back. You can address that somewhere down the line.
Nope.
Don't give me linebacker, please. You can address that somewhere down the line. Those 4 positions need to be addressed with those 4 picks.
And I would also say the offense becomes immeasurably better with a dominant center because it helps your running game and it helps your passing game because of what I mentioned with Baker. So I think they can be, and I think with Liam Cohen, the running game becomes a lot better and more important. He knows how to get the running game going. He's proven that with the Rams. So I think that would help this offense. Now they're going to be better in year 2 with Baker, having known these. And I think Kate Otten hopefully puts on some weight and can actually block somebody. That would help tremendously well in the run game as well. And he's becoming a really, really good target. So I think, they're improving there just organically. But I would agree with you there. And I think the running game just needs to be a hell of a lot better and will affect the passing game as well. Also wanted to mention Kason Pryor from USF. He gave a farewell yesterday on Instagram. Chris Youngblood in the portal as well, as is Selton Miguel. Tough for USF, but it's pretty clear their NIL game is not where it needs to be because these guys love their coach. They love USF, love everything about it. But, the only thing I can see that they don't have there is money. And it sucks that this is the way the game is played, but you can't fault the players.
I don't want to bang anybody because this is college basketball. I mean, Arizona's best player just entered the portal. Like, this is just what it is. You have to get comfortable with it. There's going to be intense roster turnover now going forward. And if you're looking for some hope, I mean, listen, Calipari's no longer at Kentucky. Carter Knox has opened up his
but he ain't coming here for nothing,
recruitment.
Bro.
I understand. I understand that, but at least you're back in the game for him. So we'll see what happens.
Somebody write a check to get some money for Carter Knox and Chris Youngblood and Selton Miguel and Casey Pryor.
Right,
let's bring them all back.
Chris Youngblood's going to go to
open up the checkbook. Let's
Chris
go.
Youngblood, though, I understand too. Like he had a great year at USF, and now he can go spend his last year at no offense, a bigger program and a bigger stage. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there isn't. But I would rather be USF, and I think the main reason, that's my opinion, is money, and that sucks.
Well, welcome to college sports.
Somebody write a check. I love spending other people's money. All right. Great job, Nick. Appreciate you. Thanks to Brian Bradley, who gave us the up-to-the-minute breaking news on Tompkins in net tonight for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Looks like that's happening, and I'm happy about that. Give Vassy a little bit more rest. And Bob Herrick, who joined us from the Masters as well. Check out his new book on Amazon called Drive, Story of Tiger Woods' Comeback. Great book there. So thanks for Bob for joining us. Sal Palantonio on Monday. He has been dispatched to the top 6 teams in the draft. So we will get his thoughts on the top 6 coming up on Monday at 10:30. We'll be back tomorrow with more fun and frivolity. We will see you then.